operative as soon as possible in the new year.
Call Dennis O'Rourke.
Thank you, Mr Chairman. New Zealand First supports the Identity Information Confirmation Bill to help attack identity fraud and ensure that identity confirmation information only is supplied and to approved agencies. Identity information means information about a person's full name, gender, date of birth, place of birth and other recorded information, for example, a passport photograph, and the status of other recorded information. And the service can be used by intermediaries who is a party to a confirmation agreement with the responsible officials. Now, the purpose of Part 2 is, quote, to allow an agency or intermediary to check whether an individual's identity information is consistent with any recorded information, unquote. And that in itself limits the scope of the confirmation service. But I'm glad to see that there are many other safeguards. In Clause 8, there is a list of conditions for using the confirmation service, which most particularly, of course, requires the individual to consent, whether in writing or electronically. And that's an important basis of the protections provided to the individual under this bill. And it requires the agency or intermediary applying to give an assurance that the consent has been obtained, and of course that they have also entered into the required confirmation agreement. There is also the ability for an individual to consent on a one-off basis or an ongoing basis and to withdraw that consent as well. And we think those are all very important safeguards for the individual in the bill. We also approve, of course, of Clause 9.4, which states, quote, the confirmation service must not at any stage supply to the agency or intermediary any recorded information about the individual who is the subject of the search, unquote. So it really is only confirmation information that is provided, and it's important that it be limited in that way. Clause 9, of course, provides a bit of an exemption in respect of, obviously, people who have died or where there's been a name change or the status of recorded information has changed as well, and those are necessary exemptions. Clause 10 gives a long list of requirements in respect of the responsibility of responsible officials, requiring a need to be demonstrated by an intermediary before they can enter into an agreement, and also they must have policies and practices in respect of the security information and relating to the privacy of individuals. We think those are particularly appropriate and important ways of limiting the scope of the bill to make sure that it is focused only on what it is intended to achieve. Clauses 11, 11A and 11B contain very comprehensive provisions concerning what must be in a confirmation agreement and, in addition, how those agreements are to be used. I note the addition of the new Clause 11A concerning how the agency must obtain an individual's consent and how he or she may withdraw that consent. I also acknowledge the very important role of the Privacy Commissioner. So New Zealand First believes that the protection of the individual forms an important part of this bill, while at the same time providing an efficient and valuable service for agencies and intermediaries to obtain confirmation information. So for those reasons, New Zealand First is happy to support the bill. I did finally want to comment on Jan Logie's SOP to exclude the use of the service for employment processes. That should be supported as well. Like Jan Logie, I agree that it is very important that we should do all we can to stop age discrimination and similar forms of discrimination. We think it's a serious problem. We think that it is often underestimated in this House. I think Trevor Mallard and some other speakers have underestimated it. And I would really ask the question in relation to that, what harm would it do to pass that SOP and have that provision? I think it's harmless, and I think it would make a contribution. Now, I do understand that
Jan Logie.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I would now like just to take this chance